Lynne, and now we are going to South Africa, and precisely we are going to Johannesburg to meet Lynne Hanna. She's president of Clarence South Africa. Lynne, are you with us? Can you hear us? Okay.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Hello, Lynne.
Good morning, Anna. Fantastic. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak. And so far, the female speakers are so interesting. I've enjoyed the morning so far, I must admit. It's hard to keep working when you want to be at the summit and watch the video. So I know our plan that
our summit is done, that you can watch for 1 year.
Yes.
So you have time.
Yes.
Workers and stay with
Which is it's absolutely fantastic, because I think there's a couple of speakers I'd like to go back and rehear again if that is possible. I know you have that set up, but first of all, thank you, Anna. It's my absolute honor and pleasure to be here this morning and to share a little bit about my journey and a little bit about me. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Your stage.
Thank you. Thanks, Anna. Good morning, everyone. Maybe a little bit of introduction about me, the female or the individual. My name is Lynne Hanna, and as Anna said, I'm the president of Clarence South Africa. I've worked with the Clarence brand for almost 30 years. In fact, it's my 30th anniversary with the brand next year. But today I'm not here to talk to you about Clarence per se. I'm here to talk to you about women, empowering women, not being afraid to push hard, go further in life and achieve your goals. And I've chosen the theme of Everest actually to speak about today. I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to climb on Everest on 3 occasions and to summit on 2 of those occasions. So please let me share my story with you today, and feel free to ask any questions whenever you feel the need to. So thank you very much indeed, Anna, for the invitation. So I'm just going to see if I can organize my screen and go to resume. Let me know, Anna, if you can see my presentation for the moment. Let me first of all go back. I have to go back before I can go forward. And I was one of 3 girls growing up in Northern Ireland originally. As you can hear from my accent, I'm certainly not French, unfortunately, or South African, but I'm actually Irish. And I didn't have an easy childhood, if I put it to you that way. I think a lot of people say that about their childhood, but what do I mean by that? I mean that I was not the favourite child. I was a bit of a rebel at heart, and I always wanted to break free and do things that were different. And to that point, I didn't like studying at school. And I couldn't wait to leave school, in fact, and go out and just play in nature and be outside. And that's where my story leads this morning, because I met and married my husband, who you see in this next photograph, and we left. We were lucky enough to be part of an expedition going to Everest in 2016, and this is us getting ready to leave from home. Just before the expedition. So my next slide is me arriving in Kathmandu and getting ready to take the journey out to the mountain and to head out towards Everest. And I think this is the part I really want to talk about: teamwork, or kind of working together with individuals that you haven't been with before. And if you can understand that when you go to climb a mountain like Mount Everest, you're meeting people who you've never been in a team with before. And we find that in life as well. You may be thrown into a project, you have to work with individuals, and you've got to very quickly see who's got the strengths and weaknesses, and you've got to assess your team. That's very like that in management every day. So arriving in Kathmandu, we met the team that we were going to be climbing with, and we're going to spend the next 2 months with on Everest. And also remember, whenever you're climbing Everest, you're relying on these people literally for your life, because if somebody does something wrong, it can be actually a person can die as a result of it. So it's a little bit more extreme than normal business and sales and marketing, because you really need to be able to rely on these people, develop this mutual trust, but also you have to keep focusing on what needs to be done. because you've got a set of goals you want to achieve and you're on a timeline, because you only have a certain amount of time that you have to climb the mountain dependent on the weather. The next step after Kathmandu is you travel to the mountain and you arrive in the Everest base camp, and here you have it on this image in front of you. And these were our tents that we stayed in for the 2 months whilst on the mountain. And straight ahead of you, you can see the very famous Khumbu icefall. It looks like a giant frozen waterfall. And the base camp that we're sitting at this stage is at 6,400 meters. And if you think about Mont Blanc, it's already the summit of Mont Blanc. Again, as in business, you have to be very disciplined. You want to move forward and do things as quickly as possible, but you can't do that when you're on Everest. You're reliant on the weather, and you have to be able to go through a process of acclimatization. And actually on this trip, some of our team found it very, very frustrating, especially the men. And obviously I'm very pro women being a female, but the men seem to struggle a lot more on these expeditions. They want to move forward very quickly, and you find that as well in your own business and in teams that you work with. It's always good to have a healthy mix of men and women, especially in project management, because the men have a very different perspective. In fact, we had one team member who decided after 4 weeks in the base camp that he was leaving and going home. He felt so claustrophobic, so frustrated. And I think the team, we all sat around together and said, listen, we're not judging you. We understand you're frustrated, and but please don't give up. You've come this far. You're more than halfway through the expedition, and please don't give up. And it's the same in business. You've got to show empathy for the people in your team. You don't know what they're going through on a personal level, and certainly in COVID lockdown, it's been very, very difficult. I know for my team, who've been working from home, have been on digital conferencing all day, every day, and still have a family, still cooking meals and providing at home and trying to do a job as well. And we realized that they're home working, in fact, working from home. So as in any situation, you've got to find a solution. So we found the solution. In fact, we said to Pat, okay, you're feeling very claustrophobic, go sleep in a bigger tent and maybe you'll feel much better. And in fact, he did that, and he had a very successful summit and continued to climb for many years after that. So I think it was the team that gave him the reassurance that also helped to make him make the decision. The next slide is what's called the puja ceremony. And I felt it important to put this slide in because this is the just beyond the 3/4 stage. You've been on Everest now for around 6 weeks, and you're preparing for that very, very difficult and very challenging summit push. The puja ceremony, like in business, it gave me the opportunity. You look back on the efforts of the last 6 weeks. Above all, you center yourself, and you talk to your team and you ask yourself, are we all clear on the strategy? Are we all clear on where we're going? Just like in business, you know, you need to be aware of the strategy. Everyone in the team must know the strategy, or how can you work together. So at this famous puja ceremony, all of our equipment that we're going to take on the mountain is blessed. And the ceremony takes about 2.5 hours. So it's a long time. You have to sit and reflect. And you feel quite a lot of tension at this stage. You're quite afraid of what could be ahead for you. And but you know you've got your team, you've listened and observed in the last 6 weeks, and you know exactly who everyone is and who you can rely on. You stay calm and you stay in control. I think in any role in leadership, you must be able to have the ability to stay calm and stay in control no matter how tough the situation, as in COVID this year and the impact it's had on all of our businesses. You've got to remain calm for all of your team, and you've got to make sure that everyone knows what has to be done as well. Strangely enough, we had just finished that puja ceremony when a giant avalanche came down off the mountain and covered our tents in snow, and it was a really shocking and frightening experience. And we didn't let it upset us. We said, okay, these things happen. It's not going to change our plans. We're going to keep moving forward. And you know, if I can kind of equate it to business as well, you know, you have that fear and doubt, and you've got to go with what you believe in. And as a leader, it's so important to be fearless and to be doubtless. And that's the kind of leader I try to be, and I try to instill in my team that work with me. You know, it doesn't mean you don't have fears and doubts, but you've got to be fearless when you need to be fearless. And after the avalanche passed, we had the difficulty of trying to navigate through the Khumbu icefall, which is probably the most dangerous section of the south side of Mount Everest. If I show you in close proximities, this is zeroing in on that area of giant frozen crevasses, which you have to go through with step ladders, and you have to work as a team. You will not go through the Khumbu without everyone helping each other. You've got to be sure, as well as in business, of the responsibility, who is doing what. Knowing that this is about 1 kilometre of icefall and it takes over 5 hours to navigate, you've got to be sure, and you've got to be able to communicate very well, because it's very, very challenging, and you've got to rely on your team to help you. You've got to have good communication, just as it is in business. When you pass through the Khumbu, you come to Camp 1, and you have a huge sigh of relief, and you say, okay, we've arrived at this wonderful Camp 1. And this photograph, I'm in the center, and my colleague Pat in the red is the person who I told you about earlier, who was going to give up and go home. And on the other side of me is my husband Noel, who I'm very fortunate to climb with. And this is his profession, actually, mountain climbing. So I rely on him much more than probably anyone else. And he knows my strengths and weaknesses more than anyone else on the team. So we've survived the Khumbu. The next step is to go through the next section of the mountain, which is not without its difficulties. Again, a lot of crevasses, and you have to push through this western Khum area before you can arrive at Camp 2. And Camp 2 is on the rocks. You stay here, and the next time that you see this oasis, you believe you will have summited already. At this area, actually, it's very interesting, because it's the final chance that the medical teams get to assess your medical situation. They give you a fitness test. They say, okay, you're ready to go, or you're not ready to go. And on this occasion, you could have done your 7 weeks of acclimatization and be told, actually, you're not fit enough and you cannot go for summit, and you need to be changed, you need to be turned back. But in this case, again, like in business, the leader decides based on the facts. There's no debates. It's not challenged. The leader makes the decision, because reckless behavior can impact the whole expedition. And also, you find that some people, their own ego can overtake their thought process. So you've got to be very clear in what you're doing. I kind of equate this to whenever you assess your own team from an HR perspective, whenever you're talking through with your own teams, their individual performance, you consider only the facts and you look at the logic, because you may have some emotional ties as well to staff, and it can be a very difficult situation sometimes when you don't want to give an employee bad news. But obviously, as leaders, we are tasked to make the best decisions. We look at the job, we look at the targets, and it's not always easy, but I find honesty and the facts work better for me. Rather like an Everest guide, I try to be very honest with all the staff that I work with on a daily basis. So here we are. In this slide, you can see what looks like tiny bumblebees nearly on the side of the mountain. And these, in fact, are the tents that we are going to be sleeping in the last time that we go for summit. This is Camp 3. It's at 7,200 meters. And you're really on the face of the mountain here. It's very, very challenging conditions. There's kind of an unspoken rule at this point that everyone moves slowly and takes consideration of each other. Obviously, you're not stepping out to take any bathroom breaks out of these tents, because at such an angle you would fall probably about 9 or 10 kilometers. down the Lhotse face to your death. So very challenging conditions. And as you can see in the next short video clip, I hope it's going to play for you. You're going to be able to see, I'll go back, the conditions that we actually faced. Oh, it's not playing for me. I think that's the most used thing that we've said during lockdown. The slide's not working, or it's not playing. I'll maybe come back to that and I can show you it at the end. So I just wanted to share this video to let you see the conditions that we faced on the way to the next camp. Unfortunately, it's not playing for me, so I'll move on. So this is me packing the day before we leave for Summit. And you have a time to sort of think about your thoughts, think about the people back home and the people that you love. And I'm fortunate enough to have my husband climbing with me, as I said earlier. And this is a real time of self-reflection. And am I doing the right thing? And you've left messages by video at home to your friends and family, telling them what to do if you don't return, because you've got a high probability on Everest that, as you know, you may not survive the summit. So we leave at night time, and we pass through the last section of the mountain, which is to the South Col. And I put in this beautiful photograph of the South Col at night time, which is absolutely beautiful. This is the real test for everyone. This is commitment, preparation, and trust is how I would really explain this part of the rules of Everest and for me in life as well. You leave for Summit about 11 p.m. and you just have one person in front of you, and it's one step at a time. We're watched from the very high camps to monitor our progress, and if at any stage we're not making enough speed, we can be turned around and told your climb is over. I mean, at this stage, you've got a leader in front of you that you have to trust. You're completely blind, it's dark, and you must have full trust in the leader. And I think it's a very poignant slide for me, and it means a lot to me in my role, and especially at the moment in COVID lockdown. You wanting to keep your team safe. You want to lead from the front, but you must have the safety of everyone in mind. And this is not a place to be daring. It's not a place to take initiative, but it's a place where you have to just go slow and steady, and that is the prize. So here we are. You've got to forget what went before you, or who went before you, in fact, and you've got to experience it for yourself. To tell you, this last section of the mountain is technically the hardest. You're on a single rope and you're clipped in. You physically have to pull yourself to reach the summit. You've got to have a strong body, a strong mind, and above all, you have to believe in yourself. You can't look back. You can't look back over the last 7 weeks and think, have I done enough? You've just got to keep moving forward. And it's almost 2.5 months since you've left home at this stage, and you know what you're there for, and you want to just get the job done. The same in business, sometimes you don't have all the answers. You have to believe that you're best prepared and that you've considered the environment, and you just need to execute. You need to get on with it, and you need to be bold and move forward. And with all our jobs, we've got different talents. And at this stage on the mountain, you've got the guide, you've got the Sherpas, you've got the climbers. Everyone is so tightly ingrained and working together. It's wonderful teamwork, and everyone's so supportive of each other. This was my summit photograph. It was my time to sort of breathe and reflect on leadership. And leadership for me, it's not about level or status. It's about attitude. It's about mindset and how we all set out to achieve our goals. I have to say, when you're sitting on the summit, you're very aware of how small you are in the world, a tiny grain of sand, in fact, on the summit. And it really puts it all in perspective. And these few photographs just give you a feel of what it was like. Of course, I took my Clarence banner with me. I'm so proud to work for the brand, and I'd worn all the products and tried to protect my skin as much as possible from the wind and the stresses of Mount Everest. The next two slides I want to show you, I feel I have to share. I promised myself after summiting, I would take a photograph to remind myself that I was never going to do this again. So for someone in the beauty industry, this is a major slide to show. So the slide on the left is me. It's how I looked the day after summiting. The stress, the pressure of those 2 months, the fear of the unknown, everything was showing on my face. But I thought, take the photograph and keep it to prove to yourself you're never going to do it again. And then the other photograph on the right, I'm back safe at base camp 2 days later and looking back to normal. And in fact, it hasn't stopped me. I will go again. My next challenge would be to attempt to summit Everest without the use of supplemental oxygen. And that for me would be my what next. I really thank you for your attention during this presentation. If you've got any questions you'd like to ask me, Anna, if you'd like to join me, and I'll take my laptop, I'll take this off, hide presenter view, and we can have a chat. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Maybe it's put you in mind to come climbing with me, Anna.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lynne. It's always heartbreaking, and I think it's best experience to train leadership. And if I am right, it's only one Irish woman who been there on top.
Yes. Yes, my husband and I are the only married couple to have summited Everest from both sides. No other married couple have done it. And I'm very proud to say I'm the only Irish woman who has also summited Everest from both sides. So first for female. And I think it's very poignant that your seminar, and you know, you must believe in yourself, and you know that I have great belief in myself. It doesn't mean I don't have any doubts, but and I love empowering women and letting them see that we can do it, you know. I don't like people when they speak about us being equal to men or not equal to men. I'm not interested. I'm happy to be a woman, and I wouldn't want to be a man. So I'm very happy, and again, thank you so much for this wonderful initiative.
Thank you so much for supporting us and Top 10 Summit. So now,
thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Lynne.
Enjoy the rest of the seminar. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.